From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, life itself, even when life is a little bit gloomy or rainy on a Monday morning when we're recording. I'm Ken Knapsack.
You go.
No.
You go.
No. I'm exhausted on autopilot, so you should go.
Yes.
I'm Jen Landa, in case you didn't know.
I'm Joseph Scrumshaw, and for anybody listening to the podcast, my mouth opened and then no sound came out, and it confused Jennifer, understandably so.
We are here to talk Star Wars news, but also catch up. And it's always our recording schedule now. We go live on Monday, so you see that first. But then we're technically returning and gathering together as a team here on this show, which airs Tuesday. So welcome back, Joseph, yesterday and today.
I'm happy to be back. I was away last week celebrating my wife's birthday, so thank you both for getting more of the work done while I was gone, being stared at by birds on a beach.
I love that. Speaking of work, before we get to the work, we always like to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audio download and a audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles and maybe triple that to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. I love when you can't read the copy that's been sitting there for 10 years. We're recommending Reign of Empire, The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed, a book that I'm close to finishing on the old version, the paper version. But you can download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. That's 1A out of the way. Joseph, are you up to the task of asking?
Yes, I can do this. I'm back. We have an ask. We are building toward a goal on our Patreon. Our Patreon is our number one source of strength that keeps the show going. So thank you all who have been a part of it. We are building to a goal of 430 paid patrons on Patreon. We're around 416, 417 right now. So if we get to 430, we're going to do a special Star Wars Ranked Redux. We're going to take an old classic episode of Star Wars Ranked, and we're going to add some visuals to it and put it out as a video here on old YouTube. So if you'd like to support us, any amount, even the small amounts, really help us. We're not trying to get to any big dollar goal. We're just trying to get to 430 paid patrons. You can also follow us on Blue Sky, which is the main place that we are at on social media these days.
Same for myself too, other than ForceCenter. Well, a little Instagram, but it's a weird time. We are going to dive into the news and catch up, but before catch up with the Andor trailer, Joseph is going to get a chance to address it while we follow up on some big questions and topics that have emerged from it, of course. But we always like to sit and kind of sip some coffee and get back into the groove of some life adventures. Jen, I kicked you here on this gloomy Monday. Life adventures, how many did you have?
I feel like I'm living in Star Wars. I have a very exciting thing that's going to be happening. I'm not sure if I can share it yet. I'll check with them this week and find out if I can share it. It's related to The Empire Strikes Back, a film that we all have watched hundreds, thousands of times. Who knows, right? And yet I was like, I must watch it again and soak up every single thing. I watched it. I watched 2 behind-the-scenes documentaries. I watched the Empire of Dreams documentary. I watched interviews with George Lucas. I'm reading another book. I'm seeped in Star Wars history, as well as somehow I've started watching what is it, Ray Harryhausen films. So like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts. Like, I've never watched this many things in my life.
Wow. It's like homework.
That's very fun Venn diagram to think about. What could you be writing about? If you're looking, what did you? I have not watched the Sinbad, but I about a year ago watched Jason and the Argonauts. What did you think of it?
Of the 2, I really liked The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. I thought that was a great story, action packed. You see so many through lines. Even with a character that we're going to talk about a little bit later, you just see all of that DNA in Star Wars. And with the people who made it, like Phil Tippett, who are obviously influenced by those types of films. But yeah, the other one, it was okay. I did scrub through a little bit. I didn't think the acting was as good.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know?
The skeletons climbing the wall with swords is just sort of like, that's my happy place.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
that's
great.
amazing. Can't wait to hear more.
Yeah.
Well, that's some adventures, Jen. Secret adventures. Look at that.
What
Love that.
what documentaries? You said 2 documentaries. So
Yes. So I watched the one that I don't even know what the name is. It was very grainy from 1980. Mark Hamill narrated it. I'm sure I've seen it before. It was mainly on like the visual effects. Then there was another one of just like raw footage that seemed like it was kind of behind the scenes stuff. Of course, I watched Leonard Maltin interviews with George. Remember those? And then I watched Empire of Dreams.
okay,
Mm.
man, that Mark Hamill one might have been the television special.
I think it was.
Because have foggy child memories that are probably warped, but I remember watching that on television in Portland before I saw the film because the
What?
film came out in May and I didn't get to see it until my birthday on August 17th. So I was already
Wow.
steeped in the action figures and the trading cards, and I think I watched that show before I actually got to see Empire Strikes Back.
Man, I want to get into the Empire Strikes Back being held as a gift for you. Back the entire
I didn't quite
summer.
understand as a child that like you sons made me wait that long. Like,
That's amazing.
I didn't know,
Well, you were up in Portland. There was a mountain exploding around you. There was maybe bigger things to worry about. Yeah, and Jen, the behind the scenes, the kind of that doc that never got made kind of Empire, where a lot of stuff emerges, is pretty fascinating too. Because I think from that's where you get the kind of true story on the "I Love You, I Know." Where Carrie was very involved and not involved and angry about not being involved, rightfully so. And there's fascinating audio from that. That's out there. That's a good thing to poke through. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like piecing together what is the true story. It's tough. It's tough.
Like a lot of Star Wars lore, it changes depending on who you're talking to. It's great. Well, wonderful. Well, we could end the adventures there because I didn't have much. I didn't have any, Joseph. I was not chased or attacked by a bird, and you were neither of those things. But I did have a squirrel stare at me real closely in my backyard.
Lucky. I'd trade.
Yeah.
I'd rather be stared at by a squirrel than a bird. But
we get a lot of squirrels in our yard, but one was in a tree yesterday doing the he doesn't see me, I don't see him. And we were about a foot apart. It was great because I love squirrels, as you do.
It's close to my heart. Close to my heart. We went away to the California coast for my wife's birthday, which was lovely. It was very interesting because I'm extremely lucky to be able to take any kind of vacation at all, but I'm not in a vacation headspace between the world, and I'm in the middle of editing this film and trying to edit this film. You're trying to keep track of so much. I feel like I've been doing a math problem in my head for 3 months, and almost everything is, something that is threatening to remove it from my head. But it was lovely. It was really misty and spooky. And often at this place we go, the gulls come in and they perch on the balconies and they just stare. And it's not like they get food often, I don't think. And it's not like they're like waiting. It's just like, what you up to? So
hey man.
Hey. I just wanna
you got some of that bread, man?
Hang out with people for a while. Like I see you don't have any bread, but I'll wait. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
We stopped at a store, a toy store that has an actual great selection of old Star Wars toys. I bought the Force Awakens Hask Thug, which I've always dreamed of. That is the kind of mostly naked rodent guy.
That's right.
I got a mostly naked rodent guy for $5. Great Star Wars adventure.
That Force Awakens line, which we've discussed here, will again, I'm sure, on Star Wars Rex or something like that. It is truly kind of the last of the old vibe lines, from the Zuvios on down to Hask Thugs. I love that.
Yep, it was a little bit more scattershot of we'll make the main characters and this guy. I don't know.
This guy.
So yeah, it was great. Wonderful. Cool. Very lucky to have that. And I did catch up to I'm not all done with Mask of Fear, just a little over halfway, but I did read the part that you had been talking about on a previous episode, Ken.
Yes.
Of Bail Organa's thoughts about the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler, small spoiler, uses the actual phrase justice for the Jedi, which is something we've talked about a lot, particularly in the Clone Wars. I always say it in the context of, I think the story of the prequels is the mistake that the Jedi made. Well, the point of the Jedi and the constant of the Jedi is that it's a noble mission, and their mission and their philosophy is good, and they are heroes. And a vast amount of the storytelling we've had about them is in one of the moments where they slipped. And I certainly know a lot of people who think like, "Hey, yeah, the point of Star Wars is the Jedi suck," right? And when I say justice for the Jedi, it's like, I think George intended for the concept that they're actually heroes. And here's a big part of the storytelling where they made a mistake. And what was the mistake? They moved away from their ideology, which is actually good. The ideology, the moving away from, is a mistake. So it was interesting to see Bale wrestle with some of those thoughts as well.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. If you're listening, Alexander Freed, thank you. We enjoy you. Enjoy the book.
Some great stuff. Great stuff in that chapter. The Haunting of Bail Organa, I believe, is that chapter.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, we got a lot of we got a lot to get to, but not so a lot of news. It's not a heavy news week, but stuff to catch up on and some late breaking stuff. Joseph, take us into the Star Wars news as you do.
Yeah, a light news week in some ways. So the Andor season 2 trailer dropped last week as you guys were recording, and you have some cameo appearances for anybody watching YouTube. So you guys got a chance to talk about it a little bit last week, right, on the live Q show.
We did.
So Ken, what was your big picture reaction? Did you like this more traditional trailer that was a little bit more, hey, it's all Star Wars time for Star Wars people?
Yeah, especially after sitting out a week, I want to make this very clear. I was expecting that kind of trailer. I've loved the trailer. I've watched it a few times. I am not just doing this to be like an internet contrarian. I just love the other one a little bit better. The energy to it, the vibe, the music, everything about it, it gets me more like, I can't wait. This one's like, cool. I almost don't want to watch this one anymore. I want to go and watch the show. So both are effective, and I want to be clear. I'm not just trying to be a bearded white dude in a beanie on a podcast. Saying I like the other one better. I just that one connected with me in a different way because I saw it replay on YouTube, and I was like, there we go. That's the thing I love. But overall, the overall reaction to the trailer is so positive, and I'm very excited. I'm doing my Rogue One rewatch right now. I already did an Andor rewatch, but I might do a episode 3, 6, 7, 10, 12 kind of rewatch in the week leading up to it. I'm really pumped for this show. So yeah, overall, man, we're happy.
Yeah, you can listen to Luthen's speech, double speed.
I'm making a sunless sky. Everything learning.
The biggest thing in the sky. Jennifer, what was your big picture reaction to this trailer?
I unlike Ken, I really like this one more than the other one.
Divided. ForceCenter's divided.
I don't know why. This one just really spoke to me because it just focused more on the story, and I wasn't as distracted. I don't know, or maybe I was expecting more from the first one. I don't know. Anyways,
Jen, you don't have to apologize. I'm not right.
Well, but I'm very much a see both sides. I'm like, my Libra-ness, as people might say, the balance, right? Because there is something about the music with the other one that I think can really work. But for me, I was like, I don't know about this. I want something else. I liked it. I don't even remember what I watched. I was like, when did this come out? I feel like it's been a lifetime ago. Was it last week?
Last week.
It's 3 lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this one. And I like the horn Imperial alarm sound. I think we're at risk of overusing it. I really like that sound. It's very evocative. It's very powerful. I think it's appropriate for Andor because it's, hey, Imperials would be raising alarms at all of the various attacks and thefts and whatnot. I loved seeing a little bit more of some of the central characters, a little bit more, as you said, Jennifer, a little bit more hints of plot with more characters. The more I think about that first one, the more I love it because I think, it is absolutely clearly targeted towards let's draw in people who maybe wouldn't give Andor a chance otherwise, with all of the quotes, with the music. But there's also just something I feel like part of the story of Andor is, hey, to actually stage a rebellion is not a logical, obvious, safe choice. Like, I remember in 2005 being like, well, Bail and Mon Mothma must have met the next day and said, shall we start some rebel cells? And I really appreciate all the storytelling that they've done in television, but also in publishing, with like how slow the walk to actually taking action is, because that's terrifying. And so I think using the modern music that is sort of like bold and rebellious and surprising actually sort of, for me, makes me feel a little bit more what the characters are feeling, of like, we've come to this and we feel there's no other choice but to take bold, terrifying action. Like making a different musical choice. Yeah, anyway,
Yep. No,
I think there's something powerful about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and again, just what I said, Jen, you're not wrong. The trailer we got was spectacular. I combed through it. I watched Alex break it down. I'm in on it. About the horns, the klaxons wailing. I've been back playing Star Wars Outlaws, and anytime, because I don't sneak well in video games, I set off the alarms. That goes off, and I have a lot of joy shutting them down. So maybe I've heard them too many times.
Yeah. I think I also just, at this point, also, I just don't want to see much more. I feel like I pretty much got the entire sequence of the TIE theft and the wheat planet, and I just don't want to see much more of that. Anyway, some of the discussions that were like, ooh, I can't wait. I did watch Alex's breakdown of the trailer as well. There's that shot of Dedra Miro. I don't know how much you guys discussed this, where she does seem to be having a problem with her neck. And the discussion is a panic attack or force choke. Did you guys discuss that, Ken?
We did, Jen. It was a hot button issue on the show. I can't exactly remember where you and I came down. I said this overall. The vibe is every force choke we've ever seen. Meaning, I think in the trailer it was cut to make you think that. Then on the breakdown, and I agree with a lot of others, including Molly Damon, that it has the hallmarks of let me undo my button because I'm not getting my promotion at work. It's a panic attack type of vibe to me. But Jen, I can't remember. Even our audience might have been divided.
I think initially I was panic attack. Then I started getting swayed to force choke. Then the audience kind of went through the same journey, where I think people kind of wanted it to be a force choke, but then we kind of worked through it on the live. And I think by the end, everyone's like, no, it's a panic attack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it seems about right.
We worked through force choke and got to panic attack. That's nice. That's what community is for.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm firmly in. I think it's absolutely a panic attack, and I'm so bummed. I don't think they should have put it in the trailer. I'll be bold. I'll be a Leo, roar, and say my opinion strongly. I don't think they should have put it in the trailer, because I think it is not a force choke, and it's cut to absolutely look like a force choke. Yeah. It's cut like she's doing an impression of Admiral Mahdi from the first Star Wars film.
Maybe she's making fun of someone else.
Like, maybe she saw somebody else getting force choked, and Mahdi was like, yeah. I just, a panic attack fits with what the show has been and with what Dedra is, I'm sure, going through. But man, would I love it to be a force choke, and I don't like being played with that way. And the reason that I would like it to be a force choke is not because I particularly want to see Darth Vader. In fact, I hope it's an Inquisitor. It would be great if it was an Inquisitor we never met. What I like is seeing the Inquisitors, seeing the dark side, seeing the sort of horrific dark magic sorcery, and the use of the Force, which is supposed to be verboten, through the eyes of a character like Dedra. Dedra is about espionage in meetings, in galactic PowerPoints, and all of these very human, gritty, real things. But the story of Star Wars is all of that is under the shadow of actual dark sorcerers. And to see through the eyes of a character like Dedra, of like, I thought this was all about espionage and business meetings and power grabs in offices, and now just some weirdo in dark robes is telling me what I can and can't do, and using some, verboten, allegedly even maybe non-existent magic on me. Yeah. I'd love to see that through a character like that's eyes, and Andor seems like an opportunity. But for me, I'm not predicting any of this. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think he's going to have a panic attack.
Yeah,
Mhm.
agree with that. Yeah, but you're thinking of making me think of some of the stuff in Kenobi running along the same timelines.
Mm-hmm.
A few years before I know, but like in that same era, there's 19 years between, and I do love that there's all these different sections of it. And this is handling its section well, the show
Mm-hmm.
overall. But yeah, that's always around the corner, right? That's always around the corner. The truth. So I like your take on that about. But what would Deidre Merrill say? Deidre Merrill say
Mm-hmm.
if she was being.
Oh yeah, I'd like her to try to explain what happened to Cyril.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then this guy with a tall head, not as maybe as tall as it should be, came into the room and choked me with his mind. That'd
This
be
is
amazing.
mine. This is mine. Thesis,
The bit
please. I can't explain it. There's no thesis. I'm choked.
Mhm.
picturing the Grand Inquisitor from Kenobi in
Yeah,
Andor is fascinating. Anyway,
Mhm.
it is. It
yeah,
is. It is.
yeah.
Mm.
Jennifer, any thoughts about the kind of more officey side of the Empire running into the more dark sorcerer side of the Empire?
In rewatching The Empire Strikes Back, I mean, it's what makes it fun. It's what makes it Star Wars. And so when the way you're pitching it, of course that makes sense. Of course that we should have the dark forces there, right? But then my mind starts going, well, would I be happy if the Grand Inquisitor was there? Would I be happy if it was, whoever, right? That's I think kind of what happened on the live stream is like as we started going down the list, do we really want to see these people? Or is it okay for the show not to have that?
Hmm.
I don't know, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I really liked Rupert, what's his name's performance in Kenobi. I don't
Friend,
know if
yeah.
I was sold on the actual like design of it in live action.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm torn. Maybe
Hmm.
another Inquisitor.
I think
Mm.
another Inquisitor would be great.
Mm.
Maybe it's Grogu going through a dark moment or stroking Dedra.
Yeah, there's something you're making me think here, Joseph, too, about the conversation around these shows and the Star Wars buffet and the different presentation styles. I don't necessarily want that to change. I
Mhm.
do really love the way Andor looks and feels and sounds and is written. I'm on board for that. I think some of the frustration that I've expressed in the past towards our buddy Tony and his show lacking certain Star Wars elements is because I would like to see that in there. I'm rewatching Rogue One right now, and that's Star Wars all the way through, right? Almost to the point where people were throwing Member Berries accusations at it with the
Mhm.
AT-AT-ST stuff. But it looks so good. I've said before, I'll say it again. Rogue One and Solo, I love the way they look more than even the other sequel trilogy films. I just love the way they're shot, the vibe, the feel, and I think Andor has that. So I think sometimes I have that frustration of I don't want the Emperor in this series. I don't think he fits in. But God, Ian McDiarmid chewing up scenery in this type of show would be something that we'd be blessed to have. So I think that's sometimes, Jen. I don't know if that touches on what you're feeling of how to live in both worlds as a Star Wars fan. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not as much mysticism in Andor.
Mhm.
Even like an appearance by Bor Gullet would be appreciated. That would
Well,
feel very like Star Wars-y, right? But
yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
Oh man, if it's like the second whole arc is Saw getting Bulgullet,
But
Borgullet,
poor Gullet.
that'd be amazing. Borgullet. Speaking of Palpatine, we
Mm.
got that great flash of Mothma in the Senate saying the monster will come for us all.
Mm.
Many people believe that it means we might actually see Mothma's speech denouncing the Emperor before she goes on the run, as we pick up on her on the run in the Rebels episode that everybody likes to talk about. I'm sure you all discussed this as well. Ken, are you excited for Mothma's speech? Are you expecting her to be delivering it to Palpatine?
Yeah, maybe at least Masameda. I don't know. Sly Moore. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the speech. And I've seen this discussed other spots, and I'm on board with this discussion of this show has been full of wonderful monologues and moments. The Marva speech, the Luthen speech, anything with Saw Gerrera. Genevieve O'Reilly just absolutely slayed season one. But I really want her as a performer to get this moment, to get that speech. And we know we get the thing in Rebels, we get the Gorman Massacre, causes her to leave. And I don't think we're going to get a remix of that. I want to see the speech and just have her have this moment as a performer. I was Revenge of the Sith being the 20 years celebration year. I've been looking back, and our buddy Ken Plume was posting some of the deleted scenes from Revenge of the Sith, and I was watching those, and it's just amazing. It's wonderful that performer 20 years ago, had a small little role, got it cut, and then gets to come back and do it again in Rogue One. And even that's kind of like, sure, oh, that's cute. Oh, I can voice the character too. That's awesome. And now gets to just be in this role and in a way that we didn't expect. Mothma is some of the best stuff in Star Wars right now, and I think we're on board with that. So I just want her to have that moment as a performer and a character.
Jennifer, any Mothma speech thoughts?
It's pretty incredible to think about how lucky they are that they have such a phenomenal actor who obviously fit the role physically, but that just like, oh yeah, by the way, she's great. I've loved every moment of her in Andor, and this line sent chills down my spine because it really was a call to action for all the characters at every part of the galaxy. You will not be spared. You must take action. The time is now. Whew, that hit very, very hard. You know, just because you're wealthy, just because you're on a farm, just because you are wherever you are, the monster will come for you too. Don't think you'll be spared. That was such a great moment.
Yeah, the passion and just the confirmation of hopefully seeing that speech. I agree with everything you said about Genevieve O'Reilly. I think the character of Mon Mothma has been handled so well across Star Wars storytelling. It's great to read Mask of Fear and feel like that is the character that I'm following in Andor. Very much. Her thoughts, her delivery in book form. Not listening to the audiobook, but yeah. So it's a celebration of the character Mothma. It also just kind of feels like you can get caught up in sort of the canon of it, but it's like the show needs that moment. Marva's speech was to the public of Ferrix. Luthen's, rehearsed shower monologue, he gets a chance to give to one guy in the sub basement of Coruscant, but it's what he wants to shout to the whole effing galaxy. So I think the show almost is like building to give us the catharsis where Mon Mothma says the truth out loud in the biggest platform possible. That's just going to be, I think, very cathartic, and I'm very excited for it. I would be fine if Palpatine was there. It might be. I hope Ian McDiarmid lives for 1,000 years and does a million things. But wouldn't it be weird if his final performance of as Palpatine was just him with a negative reaction face to Mon Mothma yell at him, just
I don't like her. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in the trailer is the bit with Clea, which talks about they're building a weapon. Obviously, there are lots of shots of the Death Star. It seems like the Death Star is going to be a presence in the show. I think when I first heard her say it, I was like, are we going to retread storytelling from Rogue One? But then I realized, like, no, I actually really like that they're going to have a thread of the Death Star, since it is the defining thing of Rogue One. It's the defining thing of A New Hope. It's the defining moment of the rebellion, fully Galactic Civil War, I guess, fully kicking off. But it does make me wonder how they're going to handle sort of that delicate baton of information and hope that Rogue One is so well structured on that baton of hope. If Luthen and Clea sort of play into how the information eventually gets to Bodhi Rook and gets to everybody else, or if this is going to be a sort of, we're following a thread of hope of Clea and Luthen finding out about the Death Star, and then that one gets pruned. Like, could this story be that Luthen and Clea get killed before they can pass the information on? Ken, what are your thoughts on the Death Star and the revelation of it being a thread in Andor?
I like it. I just, as I said, watching Rogue One, and just 2 days ago, started the film, and was reminded, oh yeah, the Death Star is kind of the big thing. And we've got there's a great moment with Diego Luna as Cassian Andor getting the information from our boy Tivik, Mr. Panicky, I can't climb my broken arm, and just this, like, there's a super weapon and Cassian has this like it's new and old, it's confirmed information, maybe. The greatest fear is confirmed. It played in a different way for me having watched the trailer. I'm glad you brought this up, of like, Oh yeah, this is kind of the big thing. It also made me. I'd love Riz Ahmed coming back as Bodhi Rourke, getting the information. At this point, it'd be a big secret, and I don't think it's happening. But he's one of my favorite things. Rogue One is as he is for a lot of folks, and it's like it's big. So yeah, it goes beyond just an Easter egg. Krennic's there. Clea's line. What do they know? None of us think Luthen's coming out of here on the scathe or alive. So it's going to play in, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think it's going to be an important part of at least the second half of this season.
Mm. Yeah, Jennifer, what are your thoughts?
I've just got stuck on Riz Ahmed. Not that long
So
ago,
good.
watched Sound of Metal.
So good.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, for my audiology class, and I had to write an essay on it. A phenomenal performance. I want to see more of him. I want to see more of him as Bodhi Rook. Bring him. Now, it's interesting because I would like to watch Rogue One now. Like you're talking about, Ken, through the lens of like, do they know? How much do they know? I don't know if they're going to get killed before anybody else finds out this information, or maybe it's just, I don't know. I certainly will be in the background with Krennic and stuff like that. But how much of it will factor in, I imagine not until like the very end, right?
Mm-hmm.
The end of the season. It would be too much otherwise.
Yeah, not driving the plot lines all through the arcs, but yeah, just that.
Yeah.
Krennic, and again, there's a lot of like we're hearing things kind of vibes in Rogue One. Get the daughter of Galen, get all this stuff because we're hearing things. But even then, as we know, as we've talked about, the senators who are like, nonsense.
Yes.
There's a Death Star named like that? Come on. Don't be. When they're picking up students off the street? Come on.
Yeah, I think that's what Noah Jabel really can't wrap his head around. Not a horrible weapon that can destroy planets, but like, would they really call it the Death Star? Wouldn't they call it like the Peace Orb?
Yeah.
Like something? The Hope Ball? Come on.
The
They wouldn't
security
name it the Death
circle.
Star.
Yeah.
That's too on the nose.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about the trailer before we move on, Ken?
It's game time, right? It's game time for me. We're 21 days out or whatever it is, getting there 22 days out. Yeah, I'm ready for the game.
Yeah, me too. Jennifer, any other thoughts on the trailer?
No, April 20. Is it April 22nd? When is it coming out? April.
27.
Yes, April
All right.
22nd.
All right.
Yeah,
Go
we got
time.
like 20 days to figure out how we're going to cover a movie a week. Enjoy watching it. We'll
Yes.
discuss how we cover it. All right, moving on. There was a little bit of breaking news this morning, I guess, in an interesting way. John Boyega, there's an article of Variety that I saw right before we started recording, to be perfectly honest, everybody. There is a documentary on Apple Plus. I'm scrolling for the title called Number One on the Call Sheet, Black Leading Men in Hollywood. John Boyega was interviewed from it, and Variety is running this quote from this documentary, which, again, since Variety decides to splice out the thing from Star Wars, it's a reminder that, hey, talking about Star Wars is always profitable, which is why a trade like Variety would do it. Anyway, here's what John Boyega had to say. I'm just going to read his quote. Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. It's a franchise that's so white that a black person existing in it was something, Boyega said in the documentary. You can always tell it's something when some Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando Calrissian and had Samuel L. Jackson. It's like telling me how many cookie chips are in the cookie dough. It's like they just scattered that in there, bro. They're okay with us playing the best friend, but once we touch their heroes, once we lead, once we trailblaze, it's like, oh my God, it's just a bit too much. They're pandering, the actor added, while also acknowledging that being cast in the franchise was a fundamental moment in his career. None of us have had a chance to watch the actual documentary, just responding to this article because I thought it was kind of important. And also, it's a very light news week. So, full honesty, cards on the table. Jennifer, what are your thoughts about John Boyega's quote?
I mean, I could write a thesis about what he's talking about. It's what we are currently dealing with, where people feel like the presence of people of color, of Black people, suddenly takes away. It's woke. What are you doing? You're taking away our jobs. You're taking away our existence. You're eradicating, the essence of America. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm an American too. Me being here on ForceCenter isn't like suddenly now we're woke. It's like, no, I'm just me, a kid who grew up with Star Wars since the 80s, right? But that's kind of the narrative that these people talk about. And you hear a lot like, well, it should be based on merit. John Boyega is a phenomenal actor. There is a reason why J.J. Abrams, he was on the radar of not just J.J. Abrams, but a lot of people after the big movie that he did. What was it? Attack on the Block?
Attack the Block, yeah.
Yeah, like he was kind of like became like an it actor after that. And it's not like, John, it's not like J.J. Abrams was like, oh, I just need a black actor. It's like, no, he's a great actor. He was chosen based on his talent. Let's have a great actor in a role in Star Wars. And it suddenly became, just chum for the waters. And it just was, and it's insulting. It's insulting that here you have an actor who's worked so hard to get where he is and is so talented, and you're going to reduce him to being like part of an agenda or not worthy of being there. Listen, we want to go down the list of who's not worthy. There's tons of Nepo babies who get chance after chance after chance and are terrible. But they're not people of color. And that's a whole other thesis, right? So it's like, oh, I can't wait to watch this documentary and hear more from him. But I know he says this stuff. People are going to get angry. We're probably going to see lots of videos on YouTube about this with some laser eyes, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the article also says that after he spoke out in GQ about his difficulties with the sequel trilogy, that he had a conversation with people at Lucasfilm, that they reached out. And so I hope for him the conversations are ongoing, in that people at Lucasfilm are willing to listen to the concern he raised in particular of you centered Finn in the advertising in Force Awakens, and he was not as centered in the second installment of the story, in John Boyega's opinion. So that was good to hear that there was a conversation, because I want things to work out for him. I think one of the things that I'm affected by just reading that quote is the sort of consistency of the idea that, well, the non-white male straight people I was exposed to as a kid, they're okay. But the diversity I encounter as an adult is challenging to me. Like, and there's so many people who say that of like, well, why do we need Rey? We had Leia, we had Ripley. We've always been cool with women. And I think to me there's layers to it, and I'm sure you could write many thesis on those, Jennifer. Thesis, please. But for me, I think part of it is like that's almost a pointing to the sadness that when we're younger, we are more open to just the world is diverse and great. Let's experience the truth of the world. And as we get older, insidious things creep in, and somehow you're okay with Mace Windu when you were 5 because the world hadn't told you that Mace Windu shouldn't be there yet. But now you believe that he shouldn't be there. I think there's some of that going on, of the sadness that the forces of bigotry, seep in. And I think that's part of the reason that some people who say vile things now about a new, leading role being given to a woman or a person of color don't have those feelings to the women of people of color they grew up with. And why is that?
That's an excellent point too, of just what was when you had no other option but to accept it because it was. You grew up in this era, and Lando was a character. Yeah. And if you grew up in a household like mine, that was just like that was a good thing. A good thing. You just later on you have the choice to to do, to either do what you say or what you just said, or grow and change and accept the table getting wetter. Yeah, it's a Jennifer. I'd like to read your thesis. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this, Ken?
Yeah, I always support anyone who went through the process, being able to talk all sides of it. Of this was a fundamental moment of my career. It changed everything about my career, and that's a good thing. And I have good memories, but also there was this reality to it, and I want him. And I'm looking forward to seeing this doc, and it's something that's need to be said. And he's so not wrong, because I'm going back to 2014, sitting there watching that trailer, the teaser, and hearing, not just on the internet, not just on some YouTube video or an angry car guy trying to get the clicks and then getting the clicks. I'm talking about around me, around the break table at the office, of someone going, yeah, but why is there a black stormtrooper? That was the first time I heard the question, was not on the internet, but in person. From someone who, doesn't even hear that question outside of their own head. If someone else had said it, you think maybe they question it, but they say it and they're not even thinking about how they're saying it or why they're asking it. It's just a natural reaction. But I don't know about that. That kind of vibe. That started it. That was the first signpost for me as a Star Wars pundit fan podcast, or whatever you want to call us here, that choppy waters were ahead and has never calmed down. Which is why we want to address it, speak up, and support this experience. I love the character of Finn. I love what they accomplished with the character. There's a lot of what ifs around the character that are all valid, and I love hearing them. And I think John's recent comments have seemed to express appreciation for those that are there for his journey. But everything he said is true. He lived it. He was there, and happy to have him in Star Wars. Always will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really understand his criticisms about the way he was centered in Force Awakens and in the marketing, with a little bit of the lightsaber psych out, and then feeling like there wasn't the focus there that he wanted. But I really do like the character's arc in the sequel trilogy. I particularly like where he ends up in Rise of Skywalker, with just he plays it so well. He's such a great actor. He has such clarity of, like, I'm listening to my feelings. This is what's needed. We all need to be in this together. And I'm going to be the one who always reminds us that we're all in this together. And I'm going to be the one who always believes. It's a really inspiring place for a character like that to end up. And I really want to see how his story continues in some way. Jennifer, any final thoughts from you?
I was just thinking about the 1980s and how when we grew up, there was a real push for diversity in, like, Sesame Street, even like the media. And there was, like, girls can do it too. And, it wasn't as like, oh, pink Legos for you, blue Legos for you, boys. It really was like everything. You can do anything. And there was this real push. And so we started seeing that being reflected in our media and in, like, our movies, and girls started having more prominent roles. And you saw a different type of female characters that weren't just like tough, badass Linda Hamilton or sexy, whatchamacallit, the weird science type of characters. You started seeing more nuance in that. And then all of a sudden, like with the birth of YouTube, you started having people saying, well, we don't like that. I don't like that. And then other people who maybe felt like that, who would never say it out loud because you'd be like ostracized, suddenly we're like, yeah, I feel like that too. And now we have a whole culture of people who feel like it is okay to say the most racist and vile things because they're seeing it all over the place and in top places. And we have come so far from where we were. And it's just like this weird, like, tree that's grown crooked, and our roots, they were good roots initially. We had a great run there, and somehow we've gotten so far from what I remember as a kid, and really what made me and what made all of us, like, what shaped our worldviews, in spite of other people in our lives maybe saying things to the contrary. It's just so fascinating. I don't know. Someone should do a documentary on it.
We can start with the black leading men in Hollywood
Yeah.
on Apple Television.
Mm.
All right, definitely wanted to spend some time on that important quote from John Boyega. I'm sure more will materialize from that documentary. Some other bits of Star Wars news. In Emperor has sadly passed away. Clive Revill, who voiced Emperor Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back before being replaced by Ian McDiarmid in the 2004 DVD release, passed away at the age of 94. Ken, are you still attached to that original Emperor played by Marjorie Eaton or Elaine Baker, depending on who you believe? Chimpanzee. The chimpanzee seems confirmed. And for sure, voiced by Clive Revill. Are you still attached to that original Emperor?
Rest in peace, Clive Revill. No. Love the performance. Absolutely. I've always enjoyed the special edition change of McDiarmid coming back. It doesn't make sense to me. But growing up with the Emperor as we knew him on VHS, for me, it was a solid little performance, and it was a little weird wrinkle to me, like a fun weird wrinkle that it wasn't him in Return of the Jedi, and one of those things I'm sure I tried to impress people on the playground with. But love the performance, love the history of his connection to Kirshner and all that stuff. So rest in peace, indeed. Part of Star Wars lore for sure.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, do you have fond memories of the original Emperor performance in The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, I remember at first I thought I was okay with the change, but then I was thinking about it. I'm like, actually, I remember being very attached to his performance and the way that the character looked. And I remember I had a lot of anger about some of the changes with the special editions and whatnot. And I guess that might have been one of them. Of course, I love Ian McDiarmid, and it makes sense. And I actually watched last night the side by side of their performances, and they both bring such a different energy to the character. But of course, now I love Ian McDiarmid as our Emperor. He's what I know now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember being surprised in 1997 that it hadn't been changed. And then in 2004, when the DVDs came out, I was like, oh, this makes more sense. And, with the rule of two, it felt like there was more tension in the scene and just more Ian McDiarmid. And I remember sort of flinching on the DVD as it came on, the Ian McDiarmid. But then a lot of the delivery, I think, is paying tribute to the choices that Clive Revill made. It's still much more Ian McDiarmid. The only thing that I think I'll always be a 2 yes fan.
Right.
When Vader says if he could be turned, he could be a powerful ally. Clive Revill has 2 yeses.
Yes.
And Ian McDiarmid is like, I only need 1 yes to communicate the same thing.
You're right.
Yeah, his
You're right.
performance is great because it's switch. It's like he's realizing in the moment. It's really fascinating. You see, you hear it.
Yeah.
That choice.
And I do give credit to Clive Revill in the way he's directed by Irvin Kershner of some of these sort of languid, slow delivery. Like he's kind of being thoughtful and maybe manipulating you as he speaks. All that that would become such an important part of the Emperor is there in that original performance. I hadn't gone back and rewatched it in a long time until I watched it this morning, and I had kind of forgotten how different the voice is. Because as a kid, I was just sort of creeped out by the face, and on a fuzzy VHS, like something ain't right about his eyes, but I don't know what. I couldn't. I had not realized how much in modern context, if you were just watching it, like, is the Emperor sleepy? Is he
He's just tired. He's just tired.
Did he take some pills? Because he seems much more chill than normal. It is a difference in performance, but fantastic.
Have you tried melatonin, Vader?
So Clive Revill had done a lot of comedy in England, which is how he met Irvin Kershner. And like Alec Guinness, he had a long career, and Star Wars was just a small blip, even smaller for him than Alec Guinness. But some articles read included some quotes about how that's how he was known, and a lot of his obituaries was Clive Revill, who spent 2 minutes doing a voice in Empire Strikes Back. And that is how this man with this long theatrical career, film career, television career, that's how he's being eulogized. I think we've talked about this kind of recently, but Ken, how would you feel if you were remembered for only a very small part of your life because that one particular thing happened to be really important to people?
Getting drunk on a movie fight show continues to be the only thing that resonates with anybody, and I'm actually okay with it because some of my funniest lines are on that episode. There's always going to be a sense of frustration, I'm sure, from the performer. Look, Alec Guinness probably likes Star Wars more than even the legends make it seem. I'm sure he had a good time doing it, and he kept
I think
coming
his
back.
bank account did.
His bank account did everything. But yeah. There's always that the frustration when you're an artiste who has many interests, and I fight against it too. I mean, they're not comparing my career to any of those legends at all. But just sometimes like, no, I'm not the movie news guy. I'm 15 other things. But I appreciate that you love that, and that's where you kind of got to let it stop.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
for me, just accept.
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful and lucky to be remembered for anything, and particularly anything that gave people joy. But I do sometimes feel like, am I going to die and it's going to be like Joseph Scrimshaw, author of that one funny Ides of March tweet that gets passed around,
Hey, look.
has passed away. That's it. Jennifer, how about you?
It's nice to be known in whatever form or fashion, right? It feels good. It's like, sometimes I'll come across my Death Star costume that someone has memeified, which is always a little interesting. But I'm like, all right, it's cool. It's cool. I never would have imagined. It's neat, like you're saying, that it resonates with people.
I hadn't known it gets memeified. Are there like memes of like you slowly floating over the horizon of Scarif?
No, they're much more. There's sexual innuendos.
Yes.
Which is funny to me now. Like I'm getting to my old lady stage. I'm like, oh, somebody. That's so kind of you, Sonny. I'm getting to that stage.
Yes.
I know the one. I know the one you're specifically referencing, Jed. I've seen it many times, and I'm always like, "Oh, don't you dare!" That's that. But I
hadn't thought about it, but now that I've thought about it, yep.
I know a lot of people were like taking up for my defense and and very like upset about it. But I'm like, whatever. It's just silly. It's just silly, like blue humor. And it's at first I thought it was quite funny. And then after the fact, I was like, well, all right, whatever. It's silly. I don't know.
But now I want silly ones. I want like a picture of you in your Death Star dress just floating in space and then cut to Krennic saying, oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Oh, that's amazing.
Well, we talked a little bit about Clive Revill's, long career. I certainly would see him pop up in things. I think I saw him in an episode of Remington Steele come up in the credits and like paused and was like freaked out.
Remington Steele.
Yeah, he did a bunch of like episodic 80s television. And
that's great.
My wife and I were watching some of Remington Steele before they took it off the streaming service we were watching, and I freaked out. So like, on one hand, I'm like, this man, he did a million things, but I know him from Star Wars, and I flipped out and had to pause the television to tell my wife the now eradicated voice of the Emperor is in this episode of Remington Steele, and got so excited because of this tiny connection to Star Wars. Ken, do you still feel that way about Clive Revill? Will you get excited when he pops up in a random thing you're watching?
Yeah, there's the problem, right? I can get a little snarky about, that's the only thing you remember me from, but I only remember them from this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's all what you connect with, and Billy Preston had one of the greatest, most influential, important careers as a black musician in the rock world in the 60s, 70s, beyond. And I'm always like, he also played on the White Album. We got it. Beatle guy, we got it. I have those moments too. Now I'm gonna go look up the Remington Steele. I definitely watched a couple episodes back in the day.
Oh, I loved Remington Steele. Yeah. Jennifer, any other Clive Revill memories that you'd like to share?
No, I have not. I have not watched Remington Steele in a very long time.
That's so funny. So funny.
I'm trying to think of what I love. Columbo. That was kind of the thing that I still continue watching every now and then. So maybe he'll be on an episode of that. I'll come across it. Who knows?
One more thing.
Yeah. One more Clive Revill. Here's my final Clive Revill question. Is it just me, or is Clive Revill one of the actor names that is closest to a Star Wars name,
Oh
Ken?
yeah, absolutely. He and Davos Golden hang out together on Coruscant. Absolutely, yeah. Clive Revill pays people of Hosnian Prime 1,000,000 credits to vote. Like this guy's a problem. Yeah, this guy's a
Yeah.
problem. This guy's a
Yep,
problem.
I really feel there should be a Star Wars character named just Revel Clive. You don't even need
Oh
to
yeah,
get any cuter with that. Just like Pod
yep.
Racer, Revel Clive.
All aboard for that.
There you go. There you go. All right, Jennifer, would you like Clive Revel to be a Star Wars, to be honored as a Star Wars character name?
Yes, my child is having a hard time. Yes, I think it's a perfect because you could say revel or reveal. You could put the
Ooh,
stress on it
yeah.
Reveal
different way.
Cleave.
Revel Clive, a French name. Yes. All right, we're going to talk about pod racers real quick. There's a new pod racer game that's been announced, and here's what the StarWars.com press release has to say. Announcing Star Wars: Beyond Victory, a mixed reality playset. The new experience in development at Industrial Light and Magic and Lucasfilm exclusively for MetaQuest 3 and 3S headsets. Meet up-and-comer Volo Bolus as they join forces with the legendary pod racer pilot Sebulba in this heart-pumping and engine-thrumping mixed reality experience. Set around the time of Solo: A Star Wars Story, Beyond Victory will feature an electrifying story and a variety of unique modes for players to enjoy. And also included here, possibly only for my benefit, here's a description of what a mixed reality video game is from Wikipedia. A mixed reality game, or hybrid reality game, blends elements of both the real and virtual worlds, allowing players to interact with both reality and virtual reality simultaneously. According to Souza da Silva and Sutko, the defining characteristic of such games is their lack of primary play space. These games are played simultaneously in physical, digital, or represented spaces, such as a game board. Some of that helped me, and some of that did not. I don't know exactly what this game is. I get that you play it on a virtual reality headset, and so that there are elements in virtual reality. I guess I don't understand from the description what in this game is in the physical world. But people at Star Wars Celebration will get find out because on the floor of Star Wars Celebration, there's going to be multiple stations where you can try out this pod racing game. Ken, will you ever play this game?
Got my Brian Ward pod racing shirt on, and I'm so bummed. No. Look, I want to speak with respect for the people that put together this game, that wrote on this game, worked on it, developed it, voiced. Sebulba's back. There's a comic that comes out with it that's exclusive to Celebration. I want to make sure putting respect on anyone who worked on this. They're artists. They're talented. I'm just a little bummed that it's just, how do I even get this? If I wanted to buy it, where am I going to play it? Do I play it in the backyard? I don't know. I've been calling and screaming about a pod racing game for years, and then imagine my disappointment when one is announced and I just won't be able to touch it. That I'll have to live with that. I guess it's okay. But I'm excited that pod racing lives, though. I will say that. That's very sincere for me. Sebulba, everything else, like pod racing lives. It's on the minds of a lot of people, including those that would pitch and create and develop a game. So exciting stuff.
Jennifer, I know you got some stuff going on there. Would you think you'd do you think you would ever play this pod racing game?
Sure, if someone wants to send it to me, absolutely. Send me the VR headset, and I'd be happy to do a review. We can do a live stream, whatever you want. Hit me up. Send that to me, and I'm sure my kids would enjoy playing it because they want to play video games right now. So,
So do I.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, send it to me.
Send it to me. Absolutely. It sounds great. Fantastic. Right up my alley. I love games.
Yeah. I would happily try this out on the floor of Celebration. But yeah, I don't see myself getting a VR headset anytime soon. Maybe if it was something app based. I did play when it first came out. I played Pokemon Go a little bit, and I did enjoy that. Like you walk around in the physical world, and then the app shows you, oh, there's, I would love to just be like, you go to this corner and Team Toe's hanging out when you look through your phone. I get that kind of mixed reality game. I'm not exactly sure what this is. I know some people have really enjoyed VR headsets and going to like a group play area like you did, Jennifer. That sounds great to me. I think for myself, just like, I'm not playing video games much. the VR headsets are still expensive. I'm sure there are people out there who love them, but it does feel to me like it's still like just one of those like, I like the version of capitalism where enough consumers need to want it in order for it to be a thing. And it feels like we've been being told by the people making VR for years and years and years that it must be the next thing. And yet it never quite has been. It was years ago there was that cover on, I think,
Oculus,
Time
yeah.
magazine with the like, hey, doesn't everybody want to look like this stork?
Yeah.
I think for me, honestly, a big part of it is like, I'm sure if I got together with a group of friends and tried the tech, I have no doubt that it's fun, and I'm glad that there are people like it. And I echo what you said, Ken, of like, I'm excited for the artists. I just kind of feel like we're at a moment in time where technology threatens our connections to one another. And I think VR headsets are kind of the dead opposite of like, let's go out and see real horizons. Let's get together with real friends in real places. It's like VR versus touch grass philosophically in this moment.
I do have a final, if we're wrapped up on this one here, Jen, I know you got stuff in the back. I have a final video game. Capitalism has demanded this happens question for you, Joseph, here. It's a big moment in your life. You have a big choice ahead of you. Do you know this?
No.
Emperor Xi Palpatine is coming to Fortnite in the Star Wars season this May. You finally might have an opportunity to run around as Palpatine going, yes, as you get eliminations. I'm just putting it out there.
Is that real?
It's real. That's rumored. It's also rumored that Jar Jar could be coming, but the big next Fortnite season, they always new characters coming in, and the strong rumors Palpatine will be on the field of play. So you could put little bunny slippers on Palpatine while he runs around Fortnite. I'm just saying you have an opportunity to live your dreams.
Is Lady Gaga still in the game?
I play with her nightly, and now I bought the little bunny slippers, so Lady Gaga in her Chromatica Ball armor runs around in bunny slippers, knocking out chuds.
Can you give Lady Gaga Palpatine's force powers? Can you make Lady Gaga shoot lightning from her fingers?
You might be able to. We'll see. You might be able to. Yeah.
Well, then,
if you buy the emote or something.
Abracadabra, count me in.
I'm just asking the question that Ken Plume's going to text you every day when that comes out.
Yeah. And again, I don't mean to be down on people who enjoy VR. Fortnite's such a great example. You play Fortnite, but really what you do is you spend time, you hang out with Ken Plume.
First of all, no, correction.
Fortnite is the way that you do it. So it is community. It is connection.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-technology. I just like to question.
I don't just play Fortnite. I win at Fortnite. And then, yes, I hang out.
You are ready to play Palpatine.
I hang out with Ken and Jerry and Scotty and Brian Tiller and
there you go.
Producer Steve. It is truly that. It is what you're talking about. It is a way to connect with people. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to connect with because they live in other states. But yes, it's also tremendously silly.
I will look into it. If I can make Lady Gaga shoot lightning from her fingers, I'll be there.
There you go.
So the thing that we're probably more interested in is the whole pod racing element. So Ken, are you intrigued by what Sebulba is up to in the era of soloist Star Wars story?
Yes.
Now, I will say I have not kept up with all of the drips and drops of canon, so I don't know how much Sebulba is documented in this era. But I'm really fascinated by the character and where he'd be at this point. So, Ken, what are your thoughts?
No, love it. More Sebulba, more pod racing, more information on what happened to it. Where is it? Is it underground now? Is it only on certain planets or sectors? And I know there's been I'm with you too. I haven't kept up on all of it, but I know there's been drips of it with maybe Anakin or Vader remembering it. I don't know. I'll watch an Alex and Molly video to remind myself of. But I just. It's become such a beloved part of Star Wars. I know so many pod racing fans out there. We are as well, and it is. You connect with Team Toe. You connect with the Rats, the tragedy Rats Tyrell. There's so much to it. It's such a wonderful sequence. If you're a sound designer fan, if you're just a designer, a fan of designed ships and everything, it's so much, and I just want to see more of it. And I'm again excited for this, and I do think of Sebulba. I want him to be the retired sports legend that still might come out in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in Wave. It's at some event, and everybody, Fodes and Bede Jr. is there. Don't even question how that happens, but Fodes and Bede Jr. is there, and just he comes out in waves, and the crowd cheers.
Love it. With Rada in it and Foden B Jr., it is just turning into Phantom Menace babies.
Yep.
Yeah. Clone Wars era babies. Yeah, I mean, I would love more Sebulba storytelling, and I know that there's been drips and drabs, and I don't have them all tracked, but like, I have to imagine that he went through a dark time, that there was humiliation after being defeated by local boy Anakin Skywalker and human, right? And such a shameful end to that. And we know from the poster in the Clone Wars that he becomes rivals with Ben Quadraneros, and even that seems insulting. Like, this is the best they got to be my number one rival.
That's also the story we need, the rise of Ben Quadraneros, to go from that to that. Oh, that's an amazing sports story. It's amazing, human species, alien species story. There's so much there. And yeah, you're right. Sebulba, he probably went through this real downtime. And then if the sport gets affected and taken away, imagine, I don't know, you work full-time at YouTube channels and suddenly that's not a thing anymore. You're cut adrift. Who am I? I want Sebulba. Who am I? A Star Wars story.
Sebulba saying in his Doug language, the Huttese were pivoting to video. Yeah, I mean, and that's maybe what this story is. There isn't a lot about the story. It says Volo Bolus, which just sounds like somebody trying not to throw up. Great Star Wars name.
Or a condition, yeah.
Volo Bolus. They joined forces with the legendary pod racer. So I don't know to do what. I would love a dark and gritty pod racing story during the Empire of like, pod racing was already completely corrupt, right? Is the Empire allowing it on more planets? Is the gambling an asset to the Empire? Like, I feel like Palpatine would make the most of pod racing, and I want to hear that story.
Yeah, he would.
Jennifer, this is I know you got some stuff going on, which for anybody watching YouTube, it's a real treat because Jennifer's dealing with something slightly off camera, but it means that she's turning and giving side eye. And it looks like she's giving side eye to what Ken is saying about pod racing. The way we have it set up on our recording. She's looking at Ken like, the hell are you talking about with Sebulba?
Oh my gosh. You know, I was listening to you guys and concentrating on what's off screen, but I think the cool thing about this is like VR is really fun. I mean, as terrified as I was with the zombies, like what I imagine with this character that we're supposed to be, Volo Bullis, whatever, like you're going to look down and see multiple arms potentially. Like that's cool, right? And then like interacting with Sebulba and seeing Sebulba there, it's going to be wild. I just wish that more people could experience it. Or it's one of those things where it's like, do we have enough space in our homes to be able to interact? I mean, granted, if you don't need to move that much, you're okay. And sitting down for maybe the pod racing part, that's okay. But I kept going beyond the barrier because I was so terrified of the zombies. I don't know how that will work. I mean, we're just not there yet. It's such a cool idea, but I don't think that we're there yet in terms of the amount of people that can enjoy this. It's kind of risky, in my opinion. Don't you think?
Yeah, when you went beyond the zombie barrier, did you like bump into like a Nerf fence, or like how did you know you were out of the zone you were supposed to be in?
It would like, I forget what it was. There was like a red zone, and then wonderfully enough, nobody could attack me. So I kind of liked it, but then I was like, oh shoot, I got to help my husband so the zombies don't eat him. So then I had to go back in. But yeah, it would. Are you seeing someone up there? Are you seeing someone up there? Is she up there?
No, I'm just saying, Grace would have left me.
Oh my gosh, it was horrifying. Yeah, horrifying. But yeah, so that it will like tell you like like that. There's a red line.
Okay.
But you bring up a great point, Jenna. I know we're getting towards the end here, but I don't want to keep you for your kid's sake. But Vader Immortal, the VR game that is very well received by people I know who have played it. It's a great story. They love it. And it's just they didn't have access to it. It's an access issue.
Yeah. It'd be great if it became more available to more people, and then I think I'd be more excited about some of this kind of storytelling. And I think it's really cool that they're rolling it out at Celebration and giving people the tie-in comic book that it's exclusive and all that and making it special. So maybe they'll sell some headsets. Ken, how else would you like to see pod racing come back into modern Star Wars storytelling?
An animated series where it's maybe mentioned and it's easier to maybe toss in a pod racer and not have to worry about, Sebulba in live action, but you know what I mean? Like the gritty Tony Gilroy version of Sebulba. Though I would like to see that. But I just think it doesn't need to be the focus quite yet. I know I've been calling for that franchise mode video game kind of thing, but it just it just needs to be there. I want to know that it's there, and that can lead to other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to see it as a backdrop in Andor season 2. I would love to see like a meeting, a discrete Rebel meeting that's happening in the stands at a pod race. That'd be great. If that Lando storytelling ever takes off, that Lando seems like he'd be betting on pod races. That'd be a great place. I'd also love it to just be included again somewhere in like a major set piece in like a film. I would love a James Bond type chase scene where speeders are chasing and they crash into an already ongoing pod race.
Yeah,
I would love that kind of just worked in as a little bit more of the fabric of the galaxy.
Indeed.
Jennifer, any final pod racing thoughts before we wrap up?
I would love to, as I've talked about before, have a ride at Disneyland. I think that would be so fun. They have plenty of space in Galaxy's Edge. I don't know how they'd, figure it out, but boy, wouldn't that be thrilling to get the actual, not just VR, but the physical experience of wind in your face as you're pod racing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah.
You hit a couple of those turns in the Radiator Springs ride, and you feel like you're in that car racing through the canyon. So you could do that with pod racing. That'd be great.
That's right. My daughter said, don't forget about Space Mountain.
Good point. Good point.
Yes.
Never, ever do. Space Mountain is when it's Hyperspace Mountain. So good.
Yeah.
So good. All right. That is our look at a wild collection of news. From a pod racing VR set to extremely important sociocultural issues with John Boyega.
Yeah.
Again, that's it.
That is it. Hey, you can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Check out Blue Sky there, where we're more responsive and reactive. And hopefully soon active. I've got some ideas. I got to remember to wake up and post things. Facebook page, if you need that, is ForceCenter Podcast. We're available as a podcast on a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. Don't forget, every Sunday, we release our Databank Brawl episodes from the past. Databank Brawl Redo. And we are moving along, but still haven't got to the Tony Thaxton theme song. I forgot it was that long, but it's soon enough. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter or at our Fourth Wall Shop. Links down below on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hey, give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Help us reach our goals there and keep the channel growing and going strong. Find me at Catnapsock or my website, which is back up thanks to the nice customer service at Weebly at catnapsock.com. Jen, where can they find you and your daughter's thoughts on video games?
Bye-bye.
That's right. You can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram at Jennifer Landa, TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138. Be sure to watch on TikTok. Go to my TikTok channel and subscribe for details later.
Love it. The podcast and parent show. It is a great thing. Great thing, Jeff.
Yeah, so you can find me on Blue Sky as well, and you can go to my website, josephscrimshaw.com. In particular, there's a link for Film North, which is an organization that can collect donations to helping me complete this film. The post-production is expensive, so I'm going to need to raise a little bit more money. I know it's a hard time for people, but if you'd like to help out, it is a one-time tax deductible donation you can make. That is on Film North. I don't have a child, so my action figure will pop up at the bottom of the frame. Goodbye!
That's it. Bye-bye.